You could.
And if they don't look at it within 10 minutes,
Right.
then nobody's going to know it was you.
Who was bitching like that at the end of the day?
Exactly. Also, can I just point out that this now, I know you're going to love this. Like 3 of us in here are going to love this. 2 of you are going to be like, what? No, I have more respect for you because you guys are youngins, but this tune is timeless. Did you know that it was 26 years ago today that Belle Biv DeVoe released Poison?
26 years ago?
26 years. How you feeling now?
God damn. That sucks.
Poison. You guys know the song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Age
good.
check by Caleb Dennison.
Yeah.
How old?
You don't know it, you're out.
Yeah, right.
I was 14 years old. That was 14 years old for me, and that song was like everybody was into it. Almost immediately after it came out, that was like the big song. And of course, every time it got played at the dance, everybody was like, they could have been, on opposite sides of the building, and then they would all
dance
convene.
circle.
Right.
Yeah, immediately. That was the big one. And the opening, I mean, you'll never forget about that.
This is Caleb reminisces.
I was 3 years old, but I do remember.
God damn it.
I do remember that song though. But it also is because the show Scrubs and Turk dances to it that one time.
Yeah,
he has that like big long dance routine to it. But I mean, the song's classic.
Man,
I don't remember
Rick,
listening
I
to
was
it.
in utero at the time.
Brad might not have even been born yet. He might not have been born yet.
I wasn't going to say anything. Call me out.
All right, so Rick and Brad are muted. Welcome to Trends with Benefits, a weekly podcast where we gather a roundtable of experts to talk about the tech topics of the day. And we are broadcasting live on YouTube right now as well. So if you're listening via and Periscope, so we're on both of those. If you're tuning in, go ahead and pop in questions into the chat and into the comment sections there, and we'll try to get to those as we go through the show. We've got a bunch of different topics that we're going to cover. Before we get started, why don't we see who we have here in the room? To my right, at 15 years old.
Yeah, right. My name is Rick. I'm one of the staff writers here for Digital Trends.
Excellent. And
I'm Brad, and I am also a staff writer here at Digital Trends.
Also an infant, too.
And also, yeah, very
Just
young.
a wee baby.
and on the end,
Caleb Dennison.
Grandpa Dennison.
Grandpa Dennison. I'm so happy to be back.
Grandpa D.
I took a couple of weeks off and missed you guys. I always miss the podcast. This is my favorite part of the week. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I'll say it a bunch of times.
Excellent.
Poison.
Perfect. Poison. That girl. All right, before we get into, like I said, we've got a few different things we're going to get to, but we have to talk about the biggest story happening in tech and kind of across the worldwide if it doesn't have to do with politics right now. And that is Apple versus the FBI, which this story, every day, there's something new coming out about this. And I mean, it really is going to define how technology, how privacy works for the next generation, essentially, I think, by the time they work out the details on this. And of course, the FBI is trying to get Apple to crack open a phone to create basically a back door into a phone to find out information about it from one of the terrorists from last year. And Apple is refusing to do it. And Tim Cook actually just came out, I believe it was today or yesterday, and said that what they're asking Apple to do is to essentially create cancer. Because once they create it, it can be used on millions of devices. Creating this kind of a program that would work for them to get into that thing, and Apple's refusing. The FBI has said they're only asking Apple for this one phone. Now it turns out that actually the Justice Department is trying to get a bunch of different phones unlocked. And Tim Cook is saying, what if we do this one? Then we've already acquiesced. Now there's precedence. What else are they going to ask us for?
I've seen it described as like asking PETA to euthanize like a bunch of animals. Which I thought was an interesting like analogy. But I don't know. I mean, it's unprecedented, so it's like tough to really make a good decision on it. But I know it's going to be something hard. There's probably a lot of legal stuff ahead of them.
I feel like we don't have all the facts. And for that reason, I find this topic super frustrating. First of all, editorially, can I just say that a lot of stories, make headlines every single day for sometimes weeks on end. And I'm really like, guys, this just isn't that important. Can we all calm down? But this is not one of those times.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like this is a big deal, and I'm glad that it's getting a lot of attention, and I'm glad a lot of people are kind of getting engaged in the conversation. But once again, you see a lot of people, it's a polarizing topic, and people are either on the side of getting the terrorists, and some people are on the side of keeping their privacy. But it's just not that black and white, I don't think. First of all, there's only so much we know about Apple's technology. And, I think that we tend to want to take Tim Cook and the Apple crew at their word when they say, look, if we create this back door, then it can be exploited and used a whole big bunch of times. But my question is, for how long? Because here's something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of yet. This morning, the New York Times reported that Apple is frantically working to create a new version of iOS into which a backdoor could not be created.
Even harder now, right?
It would be impossible for Apple to get into this iOS. Right now, apparently it is possible. We know that much is true, right?
Right.
But if they're working on a new version of iOS, which, by the way, they can just push to the iPhone 5C in question so that they would never get into this thing. They're actively working on this so that the FBI can't force them to do anything. Nobody could issue a mandate, and Apple won't be in this position. They're trying to, it's a preemptive strike on Apple's part. So if they push this new version of iOS out that they're working on, and it works, then they would never be able to get in that phone.
So
ever.
they can force that phone to...
That's right. It's
update?
A forced update. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you turn it back on, the first thing it's going to want to do is, get an update or whatever. So my question is, if they can do that, isn't it likely that they're just going to go ahead and do that?
Right. And then it's just a moot question at that point.
Exactly. It's a non-starter. Like, we don't have this conversation anymore. Unless the government starts overreaching and saying, hey, here's the deal. If you're going to make a cell phone, you got to make it haccable so we can get into it.
Right.
It's like, how do you interpret some international laws regarding like terrorism and kind of covering for them a little bit. And I wouldn't know how to decipher that myself. But I mean, that it would just come up. Like, I'm sure that question is going to come up, that they're going to try to make Apple feel bad about it. This is like a terrorist that we're dealing with here. Like, can't you just like help us out? Whereas like the other side of it that Tim Cook says is like, well, we don't want to open the door for everybody. This could be catastrophic, And it's like almost just like one thing that could open up a laundry list, like almost a Pandora's box. Yeah.
I am sympathetic too to Tim Cook and how difficult it must be,
can't be easy
for him to come out and stand up for this when it's so easy for the opposition. And in fact, you're talking about an ABC interview that went down last night, or it was aired last night. But I mean, the guy basically said you're defending the terrorists. It's so easy to just flip that language around and say you're protecting a terrorist. I think that's bull. I think it's bull. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that that's an accurate characterization of what's going on here.
It's not.
And it's more, I mean, I don't want to get into a conversation about what might be on that phone that actually helps them. Because, it's possible that they could learn something about how the whole thing came to be, and then maybe they learn how to, like, prevent those things from happening.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a terrible tragedy, but it already happened. It went down. The people are dead. And they're not coming back. And, there's no guarantee that what the FBI gets off of that phone actually helps them out. They don't know what's on the phone. And they're just dying of curiosity.
Yeah.
They want to get at it. I understand that motivation, but I really don't think that we should be setting aside, just like throwing caution to the wind and say, hey, it's just one phone. It's not just one phone.
No, I mean, and that's proven because there's other phones they're trying to petition to get cracked open too.
And from a technical standpoint, at least from my understanding, the way the FBI wants this process to go through is one that requires verification by them of the tool that Apple's providing, so that the FBI can do it themselves.
Right.
And the issue here, like basically everything I've heard, is that nobody thinks that this isn't going to result in people having their hands on the software required to look to crack iPhones. That like once that piece of software, even if they designed the specific application to just access this one phone, it's the idea is that the software, the way the FBI wants it done, is going to be out there, and there's just no way to prevent that from happening.
But what if what I just said was true? What if Apple has developed or is on the verge of finishing that iOS, which makes it impossible for even Apple, that software you're talking about right now, to penetrate an iPhone? What happens? What about the idea that maybe Apple says, okay, we're going to acquiesce. You guys forced our hand. You can get into that iPhone. Oh, you're in it now? Bam, here's this new iOS. No more getting into iPhones. What about that? Would that be okay? Would it be okay to hold the government at their word and say, okay, you're right, just this once, and then never ever again? Would that make the situation okay with people?
But if they create that backdoor, so every iPhone on Earth would have to update to that software.
Well, yeah,
that's
and they would too.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, you look at like there's probably millions of iPhones out there right now that are running iOS 6.
Yeah, but
that haven't updated in years.
We don't understand what this update is, and it may not be a wholesale replacement of the iOS. It may be a code change that they can push out to every version of iOS that's out there. Because if this is what they're saying is this thing is running iOS 9 right now, and they can fix it, they can change it. So again, we don't have all the facts.
You'll still need to agree, I think, to change that, because I think anybody would have to agree to change every time you update your OS or iOS. You have to at least like agree to what Apple is pushing out. But I don't know if they would go so much to the lengths where they would just have like a.
Well, if this is the case, they're not going to send something to this phone that the FBI could just say, well, of course we're going to accept.
Yeah, we'll do that.
They would not make it an option. Right. And you know that they can force the phone to do something you don't want it to do.
Sure. Yeah.
That's very easy. And so, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Which would cause uproar, though, too. I mean, I think both sides are going to upset people no matter what happens. I mean, and it's crazy to see this as unprecedented as it is.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think this topic's going to be at the forefront for a long time. Even if Apple did that, like forced the update, then that's going to start that whole discussion about, should a company be able to do that? There's the moral side, and everybody's got emotions, of course, tied to the issue. Yeah. It's huge. I mean, as I said, you can follow everything at digitaltrends.com. There's constant updates coming out about this. Somebody in Periscope just said it's Apple's genius marketing that they're doing this. They're fighting it, and they're fighting for privacy, and the marketing is fantastic.
Get the new iPhone 7.
They're learning things that their iPhone can do that they never knew. Like, I had no idea that this thing would blow up if somebody entered the passcode wrong 10 times. I had no idea. Now I do, and that's awesome. Hey, can we talk about something on the polar opposite side of the hacking spectrum?
Sure.
That wasn't on the plans. Did you guys hear what happened with the Nissan Leaf?
No.
Electric vehicle? It's just crazy. So there was a hacker convention or something like that in Norway, and this guy who was running a seminar out there said, hey, I'm going to show you that we can hack into a Nissan Leaf EV. And it turns out anybody with the Nissan, whatever it is, EV Connect app, and the VIN number for the car, which you can read through the windshield, right? Because they're all on the dash. With just the app and the VIN number, you can hack into the car. That's it. You don't need to be a hacker or a crazy, you don't even have to know what API means, man. You can get in there. Now, granted, all you can do at that point is adjust the climate control.
And only while the car's stopped.
And yeah, exactly.
In park, and then you can.
Yeah, so it's very limited, and it's really not a danger to anybody what you could do once you hacked into the car.
I mean,
it is something. What's worse is how Nissan handled it. So this guy, Troy Hunt, I think it was, who discovered this at this convention in Norway, contacted Nissan, and they had a lot of back and forth. Nissan apparently was very. Very grateful and easy to work with, and talked openly with him. But they didn't do anything about it. A month later, this guy in Canada catches wind of this, or was at the convention. He's like, "Hey, whatever happened with that whole Nissan Leaf thing?" And learned that Nissan had done nothing.
Wow!
For an entire month, they've known that this was the case. And then the Canadian guy says, "You know what? If you don't do something about it, I'm gonna write on my blog." And next day, Nissan shut the whole thing down. No more app, no more smart connectivity to they heavy reacted, and it just blows my mind that there could be. You have this unbreakable little piece of glass and plastic, then you have a car whose people's lives are potentially at risk with zero protection whatsoever, and a huge car company not doing they may have been doing stuff behind the scenes, but they were so concerned about the PR aspect of it that they hid. They
just didn't want anybody to know about it.
At least Apple isn't hiding. They're trying to get out in front of the issue. They're talking about it. So I don't care what side you're on. You have to respect the fact that Apple is taking a stance, and they're going in the public eye, and they're not cowering away, and they're not hiding.
Yeah.
They may start throwing their money around at some point.
We'll see they've got plenty to do that if that's what they need to do.
But what a broad spectrum we have,
Yeah.
I can hack your TV and look at what's happening in your living room. I can hack your car, but I can't hack your phone.
Yeah.
You're right. It's impressive. They haven't shuttered at the FBI at all, and they've maintained their position. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a company like Apple that can do that.
Right.
You know, I mean, granted, Nissan could do that too, but I can't believe they didn't do anything about it.
Nothing. And that's crazy. That's the funny thing is that people aren't even upset about the hackability. They're upset that Nissan didn't do something. And
still, the fact it went through all of that design and nobody thought, "Oh, let's see if I can hack into this." Oh, the VIN number. All right, that's
people
seems like
cannot
that'd be
let their
just
egos
basic
get in the way anymore.
testing, like 101.
Yeah,
just hand it to like a teenager and be like, "Hey, what can you do with this?" And they would figure that out in about 5 minutes, I would think.
Yep.
Right.
Well, all right. Moving on to another topic. Other thing that's really big in the news right now and on digitaltrends.com has to do with the Mobile World Congress that is going on over in Barcelona. Actually, Jack from Digital Trends was just tuning in and said hello. I think he's at the airport.
What's up,
now.
Jack? Yeah, he's
what's going on, Jack? And there's of course the Digital Trends Awards for the top tech from mobile, and there's a lot of interesting things on there. Some interesting products that have come out. We're going to find out more, as the guys get back, and of course as you watch on digitaltrends.com. But I know, Caleb, you've been following a lot of what's been happening over there. And there were some things that you said kind of stood out.
Yeah, well, for one thing, like both LG and Sony, even though cell phone companies have been putting hardware in their phones that lets you play like high-res audio files and really advanced audio stuff, they've never talked about it. They just put it in the phone, but they don't highlight it. They don't tout it as a marketing point. They're not trying to sell you on the audio. But this year, LG came out with a modular phone, and one of the modules that you can pull off the bottom, slap this sucker in. They have a really nice camera that you can add onto it, or you can add this high-res audio module, which has a great amplifier built in. They partnered up with Bang & Olufsen. Really fancy, So, and then Sony's always had this high-res audio thing going on. So all of a sudden, they're starting to recognize that, people, they listen to music on their phones,
right.
amazingly enough. And, hey, maybe we should make it sound better, because honestly, like, you think your iPhone sounds pretty good, right? But then if you connect even just $100 piece of equipment to it and listen to it through that, like even Spotify's 320 kbps stuff sounds amazing, like markedly better. I don't think you have to be an audiophile to hear the difference. It's just straight up better. You have to have some fairly decent headphones, right? More and more people are doing that. I mean, why are you going to spend $250 on your headphones and then get, and never really experience what they could do because your phone sucks, right?
Yeah.
So they're making it a big deal. That was one notable thing.
That's the G5, right?
The G5
Yep.
and the Xperia X Performance. Those were the two phones that kind of brought audio to the forefront. So I think that's going to maybe make a change, or it could fall flat on its face.
I mean, I like the idea of being able to add on different accessories and things like that and change out your phone for whatever. Like for somebody who taking pictures is their main thing, they don't care about audio, they can get that upgraded camera. And plus, it's good for the company. They're going to sell lots of add-ons.
Yeah, I mean that's a smart move by LG.
Right.
They've got a little robot that looks like the BB-8.
That's like what I'm more excited about than like things you can put on your phone is the rolling ball.
Yeah,
that thing is like, and they were like, oh, you can use it as like a home security, or you could use it as like, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna roll around and play with it. I'm gonna like bug people, like bring it to the office and like point laser pointers at people, like run into their chairs. Like it just seems so cool and such like an out there accessory for a mobile phone to just be like, I don't know, part of our phone is this. It's a robot and it follows you around.
It's like a land drone. You know what I mean? Like you can put it places where it really shouldn't be and piss people off. And everybody loves that idea. Why is that? I don't get it. But so that was kind of cool. But another big thing, I'm kind of jealous. Ryan and Simon both got to check this out. I think it's Avigant or Avigent. I'm not sure, but the name of the product is called the Glyph. Glyph. I encourage anybody who hasn't already heard of this thing to check it out at digitaltrends.com. It looks like part Geordie LaForge, like visor and part headphones all melded together. So if you took your standard pair of headphones and just flipped the headband in front of your eyes, it would look like that. So it looks a little funny, but then so do VR goggles, right?
Yeah.
But the cool thing about this is it has two eyepieces, that go right in front of your eyes, two small eyepieces, fully adjustable, fully focusable headphones, and it's basically like an entertainment studio for one. And so you can connect it to your phone, you can play mobile games, you can watch movies, but it basically it's all about the entertainment. It's not VR.
Okay, really. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
You don't look around and it changes the scene. It's just like a screen, and they don't use like a LCD or OLED screen. They use 2 million tiny little mirrors to beam light directly into your eyes, which doesn't sound good, but it's kind of a play on DLP technology for TV. Apparently, it looks great. It's only 720p, but you don't see any pixelization. And it is according to those guys, it's the ultimate, you are there, you are in it experience. It takes what I think is awesome about it is it takes away your environment, so you are fully immersed in whatever you're doing. Ryan said he doesn't care much for mobile games that you play on your phone, but he couldn't stop playing.
Oh,
games
well, I
with
mean
this
that
thing.
would change the whole thing.
I mean, and when you see the grins on these guys' faces when you're playing it, it's legit, because these guys have seen everything. They're jaded, but they had a riot with this thing. And the cool thing about it was a Kickstarter project going all the way back to 2014. It made its debut to the public at CES in 2016, and then they officially launched it like, we're going to send these out to you so you can play with them at Mobile World Congress. And I think people should go check that out, because everybody's all up about VR and augmented reality, and that's cool, but this thing would be a fun toy. Like, Christmas, man. Send me this thing for Christmas, and I'm going to be pretty stoked.
Like your own personal home theater, essentially.
Yeah.
Good sound, good visuals.
Yeah, and just for you,
Yeah.
and you're not bothering anybody else.
Be perfect on an airplane.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I would take it, And I don't give a crap if I look like an idiot.
I was gonna say,
on a
I don't know if I
plane.
want to be the guy
There's people
sitting
wearing
next to that person, but
those things on their eyes anyways when they sleep, so you just have your headphones on.
I almost wanted to take the Gear VR out of the bag when we were on our way to CES and just sit on the plane and use that. Like, I can be on the beach, instead of crammed into a
kicking
tiny
back,
part small
yeah.
airplane.
Why is Brad drinking pina coladas?
Speaking of VR, did you see that at Samsung's big unboxing event, they put VR goggles on everybody's seat. Nobody saw anything on stage because they watched the whole thing go down in their VR goggles.
Yeah.
And that's how they got Mark Zuckerberg on stage without anybody knowing it was going on.
'Cause he's
Dude
walking
just
by
walked
him, yeah.
right down the aisle and nobody had a freaking clue what was going on. I don't know who organized that event, but it was genius. Normally these events they're embarrassing. They are so bad. Like, they'll bring celebrities up to try and juice up the excitement, but these celebrities, even the actors, can't act for jack. It's so uncomfortable to have this supermodel or like Flo Rida is up on stage.
Hi guys, I'm
Yeah,
Flo
guys,
Rida.
I am very excited about the new experience that Samsung Smart TV brings to me. I don't know why I'm thinking, and it's just terrible. But this, I mean, it must have been a riot.
Right on, guys. Yeah.
People are with me, right? Yeah, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You may know me from such hits as In My House. Well, so all the recap is at digitaltrends.com. You can take a look at all the other products that came out for that. All right, let's move on to something else, because Brad, you brought up BB-8, and I wanted to talk about this story. So Star Wars Episode 8 is filming right now in Dubrovnik, Croatia, which Dubrovnik, Croatia is fantastic.
Spoilers. Stop it.
Spoilers right
Is
there.
that you summer there?
I have been there once, yes. I'm at my
Several
vacation
villas.
home in one of my villas.
Bro just went on Yelp and like,
It's just
I
fantastic.
feel like I've been there now.
I went there with VR goggles last night. That was pretty much it.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was just amazing. So they're filming over there right now, and one of the things they're worried about is people using drones to fly over the set to try to get shots of the action as it's going on, as they're filming. And they've hired this team of guys to be an anti-drone squad. So they've got drones to fight the drones, and they haven't really explained how they're going to do it, but they've invested a lot of money on it. I think they've got up to 600 actual guards, and then this whole team of guys that are flying drones to take down the other drones in some way, shape, or form.
I just want to know how you applied for this job. That's an amazing position.
All these guys that are flying drones now are realizing, oh crap, there's a whole industry I can be a part of.
Right.
I can go to Star Wars and
Plus,
fly my drone.
Dubrovnik is amazing.
Plus, Dubrovnik's just incredible.
Turns out the real Phantom Menace is a drone. I love that this is a problem. I love that the drone is both the what. Can I speak, please? I love the drone. That was for everybody on YouTube.
Yeah,
I want a video clip of that just to loop. those of you listening via podcast,
I am
he
at
just
the
slapped
end of
himself
my
in the
rope
face.
now, you guys. I love that the drone is both one of the most loved and most hated tech objects out there ever.
Right.
We've trained eagles to take them down.
Yeah.
There are drones with nets.
Right.
In Japan.
Other
doing
drones
this.
are taking down other drones.
And yes, and now we're actively battling drones around a sci-fi, movie. I think it's great.
Well, Star Wars was one of the best kept secrets, or tried to be last year, and there were drone footage of the first one too.
I was
and that
all
was
about
a
that
big
stuff.
problem.
They couldn't really control that scene out there, from what I understand.
Yeah.
It was really difficult, but they can here.
Now they're just going to shoot them down with.
Yeah, it was somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, different
You're gonna
rules
have
over
three
there.
kinds
Maybe
of drones up in the air around this thing. You're going to have the drones that are trying to take pictures of stuff they shouldn't. You're going to have the drones that are actively trying to take down those drones that shouldn't be there. And then you're going to have the drones that are there to film the fight that we get to watch on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how you slice it, we all win.
I really hope their drones are like X-wings.
I was just going to
something
say,
like
I hope Disney was using like X-wing and TIE
maybe
fighter
the whole
drones.
movie, maybe they're just staging the movie recording to get all this drone footage, and that's the actual movie.
Right.
It could be. It
I
could be.
love it. Notice they're not trying to sneak footage of the filming of Game of Thrones, which that's where they film Game of Thrones. But I
Right.
don't know if you knew that, but nobody's.
I feel like they probably are. I mean, I have to assume, like Star Wars, at least the first one, or Force Awakens, there was tons of that stuff out there. Where people were like, look at this X-wing, like look at the logos on it that I found.
Yeah, but I guess the difference here is that a lot of the last movie was done CGI, and the difference with this one is that they're making a concerted effort to do a lot more live action filming.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff you can actually gather from about plot points and things like that, because you get to see it being acted out. If you have two
Let alone
huge
just storage,
characters
right.
fighting that you did not expect to see fighting, then that's a real spoiler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I understand why they're so secretive, but still, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna come out.
I'll slap my face for that one too.
All right, let's. We're starting to run out of time, so let's get on to the final couple of stories here.
We're rambling, is what you're saying.
No, it's all good stuff. And like I said, if you're watching via Periscope, go ahead and pop in whatever your questions are, and we'll try to get to those too. If I miss it, just put it back in there again, and we'll get to it. Have you guys seen this video? And I really wanted to talk about it because it's amazing, and it also feels like something that in the future, when the robots take over, they're going to show humans to prove why they took over.
Damn Daniel? Are you that what you're talking about?
No. Oh God.
Yeah.
I unfortunately
That
found
too.
out what Damn Daniel was, and I really wish I never knew that information. Don't look it up. If you're listening right now and don't know, don't look it up.
And they're all looking it up now.
They're all
Right,
looking it
yeah.
up. And
We warned you.
You
Sorry.
are worse off knowing what Damn
Contributed to its
Daniel is.
viralness.
No, it's the video that Boston Dynamics has put out, and Boston Dynamics is the company that always puts out they're working on all kinds of different robotics and AI technology, and they've always got the crazy videos. They had the one of basically a mechanical like cougar that would run around and
jump.
Yeah, it was terrifying. And now they've got one where it's this new robot. I believe it's called the Atlas Project, and I'll double check what that name was, but it's this video they put out showing this thing in action, and it's walking around. It's shaped like a person, and there's part of the video where it's demonstrating in like a warehouse where the robot's trying to pick up a box, and to fight it, they have this guy with a hockey stick who keeps walking up to the robot and knocking the box out of its
Shattering
hand.
his dreams.
Shattering his dreams, just bullying him, and then taking the hockey stick and shoving him in the chest and trying to knock him over, and the robot just continuing to try to pick up the box, and he slaps it away from him again and keeps on going with it. It's amazing what they're coming up with, but it shows how quickly that stuff really is becoming a reality. Like, we are going to have helper robots.
It's like
or
real
whatever.
life Chappie. Have you guys seen the
Yeah.
movie Chappie? It's like exactly like that, and like he has to like learn, and they like kind of mess with him a little bit. But I think when the video first came out too, people were just like saying like, "This is sad." Like I kind of feel bad watching this
Bad
robot.
for the
like,
robot, yeah.
get beat up on, and like I feel like he's just getting bullied.
When he pushes him over too, that's like a moment where like he like gives him a really hearty shove with like a 2x4 in the chest.
Yeah.
And just like knocks him over, and then the robot has to like really awkwardly like figure out how to get back on its feet and like.
In a way, though, that's a way to let off some steam.
Right.
Go beat up a robot.
It's true, but I don't want to get too deep about this. But the fact that people are feeling, bad for the robot speaks to like this thing that we kind of have to start
Right.
confronting, right? Which is that we project our own humanness onto the robots. It's like when you're 4 and you think your bear is alive, right?
Right.
Don't hit my bear, you hurt my bear, and then you actually cry about it. Well, now this is like the adult version, the high-tech adult version, where we're getting upset because you're hitting Mr. Robot.
That guy's so mean. How dare he abuse that robot?
I think we need to confront, this and come to terms with, that point at which it has feelings or doesn't have feelings, and it's not a sentient being, and it's okay to bitch slap the robot. I don't know. It's a conversation.
Because the
worth
debate
having.
that would raise if it got really insane, people really started feeling for the robots, and people getting up and saying why you shouldn't turn a particular robot off
or attacking somebody who's attacking a robot.
Right.
You're right.
I mean,
the key, I think, is going to be as soon as they start giving them more human-like faces, that's when people are going to get all
And
upset.
if they say "ow," if he hit the
Please
robot in the stomach, I was like, "Oh,
it hurts so bad." Yeah.
Can a robot swear and insult you? I'll be dead and in the ground before any of this actually goes down. But I'm gonna have a laugh at other people's expense right now. Screw you guys. It's your own fault. You made the robot.
Just make it look like C-3PO and then beat it up. That would be kind of interesting. I might be into that.
I for one welcome our new robot overlords."
That's right. You've done that before. That's gone on record as saying he is very pro-robot.
In case they're listening.
Yeah. Don't hurt the
They
robots.
are, yeah.
Well, they'll retroactively listen because they'll have the entire database of everything.
They'll listen
that
to everything, right.
Exactly.
My friend did ask me about that. He was like, "Isn't this like the end of the apocalypse for us? Like all the end of humanity?" And I was like, I feel like at this point, I feel pretty good about the fact that if one of them were to turn on me, it's run by like a suite of sensors and microcontrollers that all need to be working properly, and that just grabbing at something and pulling it out at random probably brings that robot fall into the ground. And also a bucket of water is a pretty solid. If it's coming after you with a knife, it's like, oh no, where's my water bottle?
Just get
They build the robots like they built the phones. The thing that needs to be waterproof the most, it's the last freaking feature they added.
Right.
Samsung's like, guess what? The Galaxy S7 is waterproof, guys.
About time.
And
somebody's got to do a funnier dive
car's
video of
waterproof.
that. The robots taking over, and then just some guy with a garden hose
And then continues watering his lawn.
I like the idea of someone going in to take their robot back to the store, and they're like, it's not working. I don't know what's wrong. And they're
It fell in my toilet.
Yeah, did you take it on a log ride? Well, it wanted to go. It was interested. So
They can see there's water damage. The thing
the little
turned pink.
That's
so
awesome.
good.
All right. Final topic, completely not really about tech, but Caleb, I know the Oscars are coming up this weekend, and you are.
Yes, they are.
You know all about them.
You know what? That's a lie. I don't know all about them. And in fact, if Ryan R-Dub's Juanita were here right now, instead of gallivanting around Spain, eating tapas and acting smug,
Just in his flamenco costume. And
I would. He knows I love it. I would defer to him on this. But no, we will be covering the Oscars, the winners and the losers. I think everybody's waiting to see if Leo gets one finally.
Yep.
Roku, of all organizations, used a bunch of data that they collected from their live feed feature. So it's something that you can do. If you own a Roku, you can ask to be alerted anytime there's a new movie or show featuring Leo DiCaprio, for instance, or whatever. Anyway, they collated a ton of data, and their data shows that Leonardo DiCaprio is not going to get an Oscar.
who'd they say?
Who did they say was going to get it? I'm blanking now on who
Bryan
the other...
Cranston? Or?
Eddie
No.
Redmayne.
No, keep going. See how much I know about the Oscars? I don't even know who's nominated. No, they're pretty sure that everybody's pretty
Michael
sure.
Fassbender?
Yes, thank you. It was Fassbender.
Jobs.
They're thinking Fassbender's going to get it for Steve Jobs. Everybody unanimously agrees that Sylvester Stallone's going to get it for supporting actor for Creed.
Yep.
The rest is very much up in the air. But yeah, Oscars are coming, and we're going to be covering them live as they happen. If you can't watch, then you can visit our site and check out the winners as they're announced. We'll also have some commentary on the losers and why injustices that were done. And of course, somebody's going to act the fool. There are going to be some notable moments, and we're going to round all those up so that you can check them out after the fact. If, like me, you're not really excited to sit around and watch the whole stinking thing end from end. Because you know what?
Yep.
These award shows just go on, and there's just these loving entitled rich actors just glowing at each other. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of
At least the Grammys they started doing pre-awards so that they could just, for like the television broadcast, it was just performances, for the people watching at home, and it wasn't just like parading more and more people up to like give thank you speeches. And they started like, I don't know, a few hours before the show started, and it literally is just an array of performers to give you something that's like a little bit more entertaining than just watching speech after speech.
I feel bad for any of our listeners or viewers who are like, I love my Oscars party. I don't mean to come down on you. It's in fact, I
don't let Grandpa Caleb bring it
exactly.
back.
Grandpa Caleb is.
He's just crusty today. It's okay.
I am full of piss and vinegar, but no, I mean, I understand why a lot of people get excited to watch the Oscars and make a huge deal. For some people, it's their Super Bowl.
Right.
In fact, one of my writers said that it's my Super Bowl. I get excited. We break out the snacks, maybe get a little dressed up, and cool, go for it. But my Sunday night is spoken for because we're definitely gonna cover this and make sure that it's going. But yeah, I think the big one everybody really wonders about is whether Leo isn't there like an old school 8-bit arcade game.
It just came out like last week. I think.
Yeah, that you can play.
Chase it down.
You have to play Leo DiCaprio, who has to like jump hurdles and dodge.
I don't think he ever gets it either.
No, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's
you got to post a link to that.
It's fun to watch, let alone play. So you gotta check that out.
That's great.
That's on Digital Trends as well.
Yep.
All right, everybody can go there. We can all agree, though, that a performance from Belle Biv DeVoe would make the Oscars better.
Oh, man.
I think that's
26th anniversary.
Better. I think that's really what the main issue should be, and not politics or FBI and Apple. It's
or
when
anything
we get them back
Kanye says.
Yeah, no. Poison. All
Everybody groans.
It's like a whole other podcast.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Join us next time.
Send us an email, podcast@digitaltrends.com. And, of course, we do this show every week, Thursdays at 2:30 p.m. live on YouTube and Periscope, and then available via podcast. So send in your questions there or topics. We've been getting some emails. I'll try to get back to everybody on that. And we will see you next week for another episode. Last week we had Drew.